Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
This is Subramani MR, Commodities Editor, Business Line. With El Nino, which causes drought in India predicted in February this year, the focus of Indian agriculture, the key to rural economy, has turned towards the southwest monsoon. Along with it, Kharif sowing has also come under scrutiny. What's happening on the agriculture front? How will things pan out? To tell us about all this, we have with us Mr. Sanjay Gupta, MD and CEO, NCML. How do you see the monsoon playing out this year? What are your impressions on its progress so far?
Yeah. See, first of all, this monsoon has been it's like a pot boiler. They have so many ups and downs. See, we started with the year way back in January with the thought that El Nino is going to come in, and El Nino in the past we have always seen has resulted in a situation where the monsoon has been less. But now, as we are in the month of July, where most of the India, or 2nd of July, the entire India was covered. So if you look at the situation today, even though quantitatively India on the whole, we are looking at a small surplus when we look at normal monsoon. But distribution-wise, this couldn't have been worse. So we are, as of today, if you look at it, East and Northeast India, we are down by 19%. Northwest of India, we are up by 59%. And this is the reason which has pulled up the entire India country's average rainfall. Central India, we are above by a small figure of 4%. But Southern Peninsula, we are down by 23%. So out of, if you say geographical distribution of the country, if you look at 4 geographical zones, in one we have a huge surplus, in one we have a small surplus, but in 2, the remaining ones, we have very large deficits. So this is going to be a problem going forward. So on the top of it, everything looks normal if you look at it as a country, but region-wise, if you were to do an analysis, this is going to be a very, very complicated year. So let me start with the large commodities. Let's talk about paddy. So paddy, India has about 44 million hectares, and the paddy, one of the largest producers in the world, and very economically significant. There are 2 types of paddy, basmati and the non-basmati. Basmati is a very, very significant crop for us in terms of exports. And because of the geographical tag identification, we are the only country in the world which can sell its long-scented rice as basmati. So in North India, the situation is looking good, but now off late, what is happening is because of the excess rain in Haryana, Punjab, where this paddy is grown, we are having a situation that this excess rain can damage the standing crop. The crop is already standing there. Transplantations happened between 15th of June to some first week of July. Now we are in a situation where the flooding is happening, and this can have an impact on the yield of basmati. So as a result, in the last week itself, the basmati prices have started going up. The main variety being 1121. The prices have started going up. This is all old stock basmati, which is lying in the warehouse. The prices have started moving up. So on one hand, in basmati, we are having a problem because of higher monsoon, more than required monsoon activity. Now you go back to the other rice, which is the non-basmati, the coarse variety, which moves through PDS, which is also exported in a large number. There we have a situation of a deficit. So the key states here are Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Bengal. So these are the areas where this rice is grown, or paddy is grown. And in all these locations, we have a situation of a deficit. So now there the prices are going up because of people are fearing that the transplantation or the sowing of paddy may take a hit because of lack of rains. So now the farmers are also in a quandary, because the nursery plantations have happened. Most of the farmers, in anticipation that the rains will come, have prepared nurseries. So they have spent money on seeds, they have spent money on inputs, they're keeping the nurseries ready. So my past experience tells me, even though the rice seedlings should not be kept beyond a period of 25 to 30 days in the nursery, and they should be transplanted not later than that. But in the past, if the rains have been delayed, farmers have transplanted even after 45 days. And rice being a sturdy crop, it is able to withstand shock. So there are some losses, but the crop will survive and the farmer will get something. first week of August, if we get rains, there will be transplantation, and the area under paddy will go up. As of now, we have a area of about 7% lesser than last year. So this area can be made up if there are late rains. But as of now, I see there are no indications of rains happening in the states of Bihar, Eastern UP, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. So then there will be a problem. So now the situation comes in, if there are no rains, then what happens? If there are no rains by the time 7th or 10th August is there, then it will be too late to transplant paddy, because at the time of flowering or harvesting, low temperatures set in, and then you have another set of problem which crop in. So then the farmer will probably keep the field fallow and go for rabi plantations of mustard, or they may also go for short duration varieties of maize or corn. So paddy is very dicey this year. Paddy, I'm really worried on basmati front. We have a situation of excess. On the non-basmati or the coarse type grains, we have a situation of a deficit. Even in southern peninsula, southern state like Telangana, there may be a problem where the paddy area will suffer. In Telangana, the options farmers have, if they are not able to go for paddy, is maize or cotton. In UP, they do not have really any good option in this season except for maize, but maize also requires moisture. If they are not able to do that, then they will wait for rabi, and mustard area may go up this year in these areas which are left fallow because of lack of rain. Another problem, another significant crop in this time is maize. Kharif maize is all over the country. So as a result, similar trajectory as paddy, but maize is not so sensitive as paddy is. So maize, I do not see much problem, because maize area will continue. There will be some short drop which may happen in Karnataka, but overall Karnataka has received good rain. So I believe that maize will not suffer that much as compared to paddy. And the third significant crop is cotton. If the rains do not happen, we may have a situation. Cotton is a very sturdy crop. It will survive. And if the rains happen late, it has a potential to revive itself. But still, we will see some yield losses in cotton. If the rain do not happen, there is a moisture stress which builds up. So you see pest attacks happening, and the farmer is not very confident of the crop. They do not spend money on spraying. So as a result, the overall crop yield may suffer, but the area increase may offset that, or it will also depend a lot on the rains which will happen in the month of August. If in the southern peninsula, August rains do not happen, then we have to write off a large part of cotton crop also. And that will be a debacle, because then this effect will flow over into rabi crops. In most of the area, it carries on the basis of residual moisture in the soil. If the Kharif rains are deficient, then the moisture in the soil will not be enough unless we have late rains to sustain a rabi crop. So then it will have an impact on the wheat. So we saw a price spike happening in wheat. As a result, the government had to step in and release some material from FCI stock, and there are even talks of allowing imports to happen. There is an import duty of 40% on wheats as of now. So government may start relaxing that import duty, so the imports can happen, because the wheat situation is also not looking good. So we are at a very critical juncture in the journey of monsoon so far. I am just keeping our fingers crossed that if at all the rains pick up now in the next month or so, there is some chance that a revival in paddy acreages and cotton acreages may happen. But if they're not, then we will see this deficit going further. There will be no chance of having an alternate crop coming up to replace this lost area. Other thing, what happens is in this, when the situation is like this, the rains are not there, the farmer is deficient. So if he is not able to plant the whole land acreages or whatever he is holding, they go for smaller crops. So at this time, normally he will have some water. So if farmer has 5 acres of land, his own water sources are able to sustain only 1 acre or something like that, then he will go for horticultural crops. So that is one option. They can go for tomato, they can go for okra, they can go for any other vegetable, depending on the season as of now. So that acreages may go up, and what we are seeing in tomato, the price spike, maybe some area under tomato may go up because of these two factors, that availability of water, high prices of tomato will prompt farmers to increase their allocation of area towards vegetable. So that may happen, that will support the farmers to some extent. But then rains are very essential. If the rains do not happen in the next 1 week, we will see acreages under various crops like Kharif crops coming down significantly as compared to last year.
Which are the crops that could gain and which could lose out if monsoon is not normal?
So as I said, we can see a significant drop in paddy. Paddy may see a decline because most of the eastern and northeastern areas, Indo-Gangetic plains, paddy is grown. If the monsoon is not there, then the paddy acreages will suffer. This can be replaced by, to some extent, by maize. And in Rabi, you will have mustard. They can go for an early mustard sowing. So paddy will suffer. Cotton will suffer. Maize, to some extent, will suffer. Another big crop to suffer would be soybean. In central India, in Maharashtra, MP, even though the rains have been aplenty, that is also a problem in soybean. If the rains are more, then soybean plantations take a hit. So my guess, this will be a bad year for paddy. It will be a bad year for cotton. I'm assuming that the rains may not pick up. This is an assumption, and soybean will suffer a lot. Other crops will be maize will maintain itself. Bajra, the Rajasthan has received very good rains, so bajra and jawar and all these crops will do very well there. But the major losers will be paddy, cotton, and soybean. These three crops will be the significant losers.
Do you see any impact of El Nino on monsoon and agriculture production in particular?
See, this is whatever we are seeing is all doing of El Nino only. Biparjoy cyclone coming in, which brought so much rain to central and northwestern India. We are having a situation of floods in those areas. And this is El Nino, and the central India suffering. So this is predicted. This is a predictable El Nino pattern. If you look at the past 30, 40 events of El Nino, that whenever such thing happens, central India, eastern India suffers. IMD's forecast, they are not seeing any chances of rains happening over this eastern and northeastern India in the coming days. Even though the country as a whole will show a surplus of monsoon, but this is going to be a bad monsoon year because entire surplus is coming from northwestern India. Statistically maybe all, but it will be a bad situation for central India, east and northeast part of the country, and South India.
What sort of impact will these events have on your warehouses?
It's very simple. See, whatever comes to warehouse is the surplus between production and the demand. So if the overall yield comes down, obviously there will be less surplus available in the market, which needs to be stored or protected. So this will be a scenario. So we expect that the volumes coming to storage will be much lesser compared to last year. If the production is high, prices come down during the season, then people take a position, and farmers also anticipate the prices will go up in the off season. So they tend to store. But as of now, given the current state of affairs, we believe that this year the storable surplus may be less compared to the last year. The volume storage may come down. But at the same time, then another thing happens is when the prices are good, and this year the government steps in to buy to alleviate the rural stress. Government steps in to procure many other commodities. So that may give us some opportunity because we are also a service provider to the government of India. So that will open up another opportunity for us. But as in general, if the production is less, the warehousing sector tends to suffer.
What are your impressions on the government's recent move to come up with warehouses to be constructed by cooperatives? Will NCML have any role to play in this?
See, the government has always been worried about a phenomena that when the season comes in, harvest happens, and the farmers come to the market, they do not get good value. They are forced to sell their produce. And afterwards, the price rises, and most of the middlemen and the people who have taken stock this position tends to make more money. So the government is trying to, in fact, the warehousing came up as a mitigating a measure to this phenomena. The land holding of a farmer in India is low. We all know that. And so is agriculture production. So if these warehouses are created at so many locations, so each farmer's output, individual farmer's output is not sufficient to make any of these warehouses viable. It will have to be done. It will have to be a collective effort. And if it is a collective effort, then there is an effort involved in managing these warehouses. So, and if they are below a certain size, then management of these warehouses become unviable. So even though the intention of the government is very noble, they want the farmers to be alleviated from this stress, that they are forced to sell their produce at a lower price when the glut is there. But then if they keep it in these warehouses, management of the stock will become a huge problem. See, we, NCML, we manage more than 2 million tons of stock, and we have about 800, 900 warehouses under our management. So we know what it takes, what is the cost and what are the management efforts required to keep them, ensure that the stocks do not lose any value. So creating so many warehouses without giving a thought that how these warehouses will be managed and who will manage them will lead to a problem, because the stocks in these kept in these warehouses needs to be managed very, very closely, very, very scientifically. That remains a challenge. I'm sure government has thought through it. They have a process in place, or they are at least thinking over it. But as of now, that looks a concern to me. With so many warehouses, how will you manage them? For 20 million ton, just imagine our situation. For 20 million ton, we are able to manage with about 800 warehouses. And India's total production is about 315 million metric ton. Assuming that even entire thing comes up for storage, 315, if you assume a very rough calculation, you will require only, say, maybe 12,000, 13,000 warehouses totally in the country to stock the entire warehouse of average size, what we are having in our portfolio as of now. But then creating so many warehouses will lead to a situation of glut. So that remains to be seen how government addresses that concern.
What is your current capacity? How is the rice-wheat silo complex performing? What are your new plans to add capacity?
Yeah. See, as of now, whereas the conventional storage is concerned, where we stock in warehouses, our capacity right now is about 2.2 million tons. Then in the silos, if you talk about, there are two types of silos we have. There is one set of silos which is dedicated to FCI. So whatever material is stocked in SEM belongs to FCI. And then we have some silo complexes of our own where we offer it these to retail clients. So for FCI, our capacity as of now is 3.5 lakh tons or 0.35 million tons as of now. These are 7 locations. Each location is 50,000 tons. For rice, we are doing a pilot with the Government of India and FCI by building 2 silo locations in the state of Bihar, in Kaimur and Buxar, where 50,000 ton campuses of silos, 12,500 ton each has been dedicated to rice. So this is like a exploratory phase, whether rice can be stored in silos over a longer period, a prolonged period. So these silos will be up and ready in maybe next 1 month. So the rice will come in the market October, November. We will be stocking them, keeping a very close. We have employed some very good, very high-tech solutions to ensure there is no pest infestation. So we have installed these silos have temperature control capabilities. So because in that part of the country, the summer temperatures can go up to 45, 46 degrees temperature, whereas our endeavor would be all this stock is always maintained at a level of 26 to 27 degrees centigrade. We have very high-tech chillers installed in these silos, which will ensure that the grain temperature doesn't go up. So it will be a pilot stage. Let us see how the pilot goes. Then once the FCI is satisfied or the government is satisfied, maybe we'll build a lot of these warehouses or silos in the coming years.
Are you envisaging any new role for NCML?
What we have done is NCML has created these silo locations, and all these silo locations also have the capability of handling rakes. These are all silo locations have railway connectivity. So we are also looking at an option of providing logistic support to food operators by using rail instead of road as a transport media. So we are the talks are on 2 locations of also being converted into as a logistics hub for food grains. So Punjab and Haryana. So we are in talks of, hopefully if this pilot works out, then these silo locations can also serve as a nodal points for transportation over long distances using railways instead of roads in a very efficient way. So that is what our aim is. So we are aiming towards it. We are working towards it, and we are hopeful that by the end of next year we will have some credible numbers to support this.
Thank you very much for your enlightening views, sir. They are indeed very informative. Thank you for listening in to Business Line's State of Economy.